Greetings, friends. It's me, Wayman, and come on and do another video. Now it's been a long time, and I wanted to do a video on the series I Want the Church, an outsider's view of Christianity. And truthfully, I haven't been to church, but I wanted to talk about a topic that's been really bugging me, is judgmentalism, if that's a word. And many of you have probably felt it. I'm not a Baptist minister, I'm an agnostic, but I might sound like one in this video. A lot of stuff going on, and especially on Reddit. I'm sure you've all heard about the minister who ended up getting an Applebee's waitress fired for a tip that she was, or the acquaintance's tip was stiffed on, and for privacy reasons Applebee's fired him, but acting very arrogantly drew a lot of negative attention to her church and Christianity. And it just goes to show that once you build things up, it can all fall like a house of cards when you get one bad egg. But what I wanted to read was a book put out by the Barna Group. It's just a group that does surveys for churches and how outsiders view Christianity and how Christians view outsiders and the inner workings of the church. And it's very telling. So I got the book unChristian, and also there's another book that I want to get. It's called You Lost Me, which talks about all these issues. So I wanted to read a page 154 of that book. Hopefully this isn't long and drawn out. Unfortunately, Christians in our culture have become identified with this perception of being judgmental. Nearly 9 out of 10 young outsiders, 87%, said that the term judgmental accurately describes present-day Christianity. This was one of the big three. The three most widely held negative perceptions of Christians, along with being anti-homosexual and hypocritical. Just to put this in practical terms, when you introduce yourself to a 20-something neighbor and you mention your faith, chances are he or she will think of you as judgmental. We also discovered that our better-than-thou attitudes are apparent to young churchgoers. Most Christian young people told our interviewers that faith seems too focused on other people's faults. More than half the young Christians between ages of 16 and 29, 53%, said they believe that the label judgmental accurately fits present-day Christianity. Christians between the ages of 16 and 29, 53%, said they believe that the label judgmental accurately fits present-day Christianity. It's very interesting. So they went on to ask a survey about, do you believe your church is loving? This is very telling. This is on page 157. The question was put to people, 4 groups of people, pastors, born-again Christians, churchgoers, and outsiders. The question was this: Christian churches accept and love people unconditionally, regardless of how people look or what they do. Out of pastors, 76% said yes. Born-again Christians, 47% said yes. Churchgoers, only 41%. Outsiders, only 20% could say that. So that's very interesting. And a lot of times, people might not even know that they're doing it. And as churches empty out, they wonder what's doing wrong. Maybe what's going wrong. And I think that in the Tanakh, or Old Testament, the Christians, in Isaiah 58, 3, starting at Isaiah 58, 3, might give us a clue on what we need to do. And I think that also flows over into the early Christian texts of what they might call the New Testament and the preachings of Christ. You don't need to be a believer to do these things that I'm going to read. And I've said it before. I believe that the Good Samaritan could have been an atheist, doing good for the sake of doing good, rather than for the selfish desires of heaven. And Isaiah gets into it here when they ask him about fasting and why things aren't going the way spiritually that they think they should. And this is the reply. They say, "Why have we fasted, and you have not seen? Why have we afflicted our beings, and you took no note? Look, in the day of your fasting you find pleasure, and drive on all your labors. Look, you fast for strife and contention, and to strike the fist of wrongfulness. You do not fast as you do this day, to make your voice heard on high. Is it a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his being? Is it to bow down his head like a bulrush, and to spread out sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast, and an acceptable day to Adonai? Is this not the fast that I have chosen, to loosen the tight cords of wrongness, to undo the bands of the yoke, to exempt the oppressed, and to break off every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, that you bring to your house the poor, who are cast out, and when you see the naked, cover them, and not hide yourself from your own flesh? When your light would break forth like morning, your healings spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you, the esteem of Adonai will be at your rear guard. Then when you call, Adonai would answer. When you cry, he would say, Here am I. If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger, and the speaking of unrighteousness, if you extend your being to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted being, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness shall be as noon. Then Adonai would guide you continually, and satisfy your being in drought, and strengthen your bones. And you shall be like the watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters do not fail." So, moving on to the New Testament, it's pretty interesting. On the sheeps and goats, sheeps, I don't know if that's a word, but the master tells people on the left, when they ask, he used to say it on his left, "Depart from me." It's Matthew 25:41. "You are accursed to the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, and you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me." This is where they all play dumb. They say, and they will answer, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger, or needing clothes, or sick or in prison, and did not help you?" And he will reply, "I'll tell you, whenever you did not do it for the least of these, you did not do it to me." So that's very powerful. So it's not coming from the heavens that we should send somebody up to bring it to us, or send somebody overseas so that they can tell us to come back and do it. It's through virtue, and it's in our hearts, and it's doing the right thing. So even an atheist could do these things and be just as virtuous as some of the most pious that go parading among us, because it's just that. It's all show. So a lot of times, my number one rule is, it's not what people say, it's not what church they go to, but what they're doing. And if I look out my window and they're not doing, I could care less about the others, being what church they go to or what they're preaching. So hopefully that's some food for thought. Sorry if I got long-winded. Take care, friends, and remember, if everybody's thinking alike, then somebody isn't thinking.